Welcome to this episode of the Security Clearance Careers Podcast, ClearedCast, your source for security clearance, intelligence community, espionage, national security, and defense contracting updates, and our exclusive interviews with intelligence community and government leaders. Hello, secret squirrels. Welcome to this episode of ClearedCast. I'm Katie, editorial communications manager, and I have Jill here with me today for part 2 of our series on weird security clearance stories. So if you missed the first part, you can head on over to our podcast channel, our YouTube channel, the news site at news.clearancejobs.com. We covered accidentally working for a porn company, sextortion, an investigator having a mild heart attack, and then recording conversations. So go check those out.
Clearance holder and hearsay. If you hear rumors, what are you supposed to do with them? So this person, ELE, was the person of the blog. I recently learned secondhand about someone who is trying to overstay his visa. Am I required to do something about it? Does it have any impact on the clearance process? Which I'm assuming he's meaning, or this person's meaning, their own clearance process, since we're talking about someone else who has a visa. But really comes down to the issue of, are you being asked to do something? And it's already also like he's contemplating overstaying the visa. He hasn't actually done anything yet. So even at that point in time, especially, you are not, it's not like it's going to reflect badly on you. Like, you're not part of it. You're not contributing to it. And they're just thinking about it. And at this point too, it's secondhand information. Like somebody told you, and now you feel burdened about it, which it's great. You have a good conscience like that, but it's not like you directly witnessed something.
Sure. So next up, we have a stalking scenario. So government contractor on the blog writes, I'm an industrial contractor on a contract that requires a TSSCI with a full scope poly. My PR kicked off in 2018. In 2020, I had a woman I dated 5 times file a restraining order against me, making false allegations of phone stalking. I reported this to my FSO. First off, that was great that you reported it, those allegations. The woman, you dated her 5 times, but at that point, it turned into stalking. Interesting. So government contractor goes on. In March 2021, I went to court and the court had no findings against me, but I still agreed to do a 30-day no contact order because I thought that this woman would continue to make false allegations against me and use the court system to try to harden me. I told this to the FSO and provided them with the original court documents, which state that the court has no findings. In June 2021, I was at home and received a phone call from my employer telling me to turn in my badge and that I was not to report to work at the client site. It's now July, and I was told my contracting company that my clearance, to their knowledge, is still active and I'm eligible to apply for other jobs. However, unofficial word at the client site is that I'm no longer welcomed in the building. It has been well over 30 days. I'm trying to find other work in the industry, but no single person has told me what exactly happened. For instance, is there some red flag in my security clearance file now? What happened with my PR? Is it still ongoing? I've spoken with a few clearance attorneys in the Northern Virginia area, but none of them have been able to tell me what they think is going on. Their answer has mostly been, let's wait and see. Can anyone with experience please tell me what may be going on? So first, you reported things to your FSO. That's great. That is the first step. If anything ever happens, self-reporting is looked at in a positive light. Going through those court proceedings. So if you were told to turn in your badge and leave the client site, and you checked in with your FSO and you don't see any incident reports on your security clearance, you may have been asked to leave for another reason. There would be an IR, an incident report noted.
user APU says he got this letter in the mail stating, "Dear Mr. X, this letter is in reference to your application for employment. We have determined that we can no longer continue your processing and hereby rescind our conditional offer of employment. This determination was based on information that you provided us or was otherwise obtained during your pre-employment processing. There is no appeal regarding this decision. Please note that this letter does not represent a security clearance denial for a national security position. When filling out future national security questionnaires, standard form SF-86 application forms, and related documents, you should note that you were not denied a security clearance for this application." So this is the only piece of information they were provided after they went through the whole process. And this user is saying that the only thing they added in the process that they hold crypto as an investment. Mm-hmm. And the position was with an IC agency. So they were just kind of giving a shout out to, future security clearance holders. They went through the whole background investigation, had a polygraph. It's unclear if they did not put the crypto investment down on the SF-86 and then maybe it came out later in the polygraph, or if there's something else in there that the IC agency was like, "No, but we're not denying you a clearance. We're just saying we're denying suitability for the job." So suitability and actually be eligible for a clearance, like suitability is just the job. And some of the IC agencies are stricter with some of the background information. Even if it's not, even if you could still get the clearance with what you have, it doesn't mean that you can necessarily work for some specific agencies.
Involving being denied, first of all, know your terms, suitability, being denied a clearance. If you do receive a statement of reasons, you should have a little more documentation on why you were not offered a clearance. If you're denied suitability, try to get as much information as you can on why you're not eligible for that position. And tread lightly when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency. Morals of that story there. So next up on the docket, we have an amateur porn star that is denied a security clearance. So, Fatal Ambition 16 writes, "My wife is a cam girl and we have discussed making amateur porn in the near future. We would ensure that our faces are never shown by cutting out scenes and or wearing masks. I currently already hold a security clearance and a new one is coming due pretty soon." Not quite sure what that means, but "I have no intentions of lying and I plan to be 100% honest. How will this affect my clearance? Will it get denied because it could look like a possible way of getting blackmailed? My wife will also be getting a background check for her job. Will this affect it at all? Thanks in advance." If you are getting paid for these things, you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's in terms of the IRS, because those types of financial issues can come back to bite you in the behind. If it's a legitimate, job that you're getting paid for, there isn't a huge worry there. But yeah, blackmail, that's coercion. That's probably more of the concern. And then depending on the site that you're hosting this amateur porn on, VHS tapes are no longer here. So, you have to worry about the cybersecurity piece of it.
Right. Yeah.
If you're wearing, no wearing secret squirrel masks either. We only produce clean content.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So amateur porn, of course, that made the list. What's up next, Jilly?
All right, last one, number 5, contacting investigators who don't want to be contacted. And this is really more about whistleblowing. This is a little bit of a long one, but Joe Boston writes, "I was employed by a major defense contractor from 2013 to 2020. So a good long-time employee. I observed serious classified security vulnerabilities, can't say that word today, and reported them to my employer. The FSO and his security team ignored my concerns. This went on for years, and eventually I was forced to escalate my concerns to the Defense Counterintelligence Security Agency, so DCSA. And then in the process of the investigation, DCSA disclosed his identity to his employer. because I had to interview people. He says, I was subjected to retaliation by the FSO, my security manager, and my IT manager. So I filed a whistleblower reprisal complaint. Shortly thereafter, I learned that all three of them were engaged in activity to bring about the revocation of my clearance. So prior to learning I was a whistleblower, security told me there was no top secret classified work at my location. I informed my employer in writing that even if the work existed, I did not want to be adjudicated for a top secret clearance and would not perform top secret work for them. He felt their classified security program was abysmal, in his words. However, after learning I was the whistleblower, my FSO revoked my access to classified work, flagged my JPass record, then submitted a request for the government to elevate my clearance to the top secret level. And I was contacted by an investigator, provided a long list of character references. As far as I know, she didn't speak to any of them. Instead, she spoke to my FSO, who provided her with fake adverse information. He then arranged for her to meet with the security manager and the IT manager, who were also subjecting me to retaliation. They also provided fake adverse information to the investigator. I learned about this plot to bring about the revocation of my clearance through FOIA requests. I have seen the fake adverse information the three managers provided to the investigator. I have no reason to believe the investigator knows that she was lied to. She is probably unaware that my employer is trying to manipulate the CAF into revoking my clearance. And then he wants to know, do I have a right to contact the investigator and refute the adverse information that was given? If so, how do I do this? Her name has been replaced by a number on the documents. Any advice would be great, because I'm sure that would be helpful, because it's definitely a sticky situation of somebody who tries to do the right thing when they see classified information being mishandled, and then they're retaliated in the process. And then the interesting tactic was when they, like, he already seems to have had a secret clearance. And so when they put you forward for a top secret, if you're denied a top secret, you lose your secret clearance. Like, it's not like, oh, I couldn't get a top secret, so now I'll just rest back on my secret. Right. Like, you lose your job. And so he would lose his job.
Yeah, those are tales, security clearance stories from the ClearanceJobs blog. So cryptocurrency, think before you start to invest if you are interested in a security clearance career, or think you'll be in the future. Amateur porn, maybe. Here's the dang sound effect. I was trying to do it earlier and it wasn't working. Amateur porn, if you're thinking about doing it, don't. Or just think before you do it. Think about the consequences. But yeah, and then a couple of stalkers that we had today. So try to avoid that behavior. Maybe dial in a friend. See if your behavior is coming off as a little bit stalker-ish. So that's the advice from the ClearanceJobs editorial team, folks. For more information, you can always visit news.clearancejobs.com. And if you ever have a story that you want to submit to the editorial team, you can email us at editor@clearancejobs.com.